people are horrible. And it just seems like one thing after another, never ending. So I just feel like there's no point, but I have a point. I have my kids, so they kind of keep me grounded. But it's a struggle right now for me. And it's a struggle that a lot of people don't understand. Like, unless you've been through something like that, and unless you've been through the traumatic events I've been through, you don't get how it affects someone the way it affects them.
Okay, we're ready.
My name is Neimann, and I'm from Texas. I just totally forgot the other question. Can we do that again?
Yeah, of course.
You said name, where I'm from, and what?
Age.
Oh, that was easy. Okay. My name is Neimann. I'm originally from Texas, and I am turning 28 this year.
Awesome, thank you. And where are you living right now, and what does your life look like?
So right now I live in Liberty Hill, Texas, and my life is pretty chaotic. I have 4 kids, all under the age of 10, and I run a real estate career by myself, so it's just pure chaos 24/7, but I like it. It's cool. It's difficult dealing with like all of the mental illnesses and things that have kind of showed their face recently, but we're working on it. So.
Yeah, and do you have, what is your work like right now? Like, is it super stressful, or are you taking a lot of time to be with your kids?
It's stressful because I'm trying to find that like work-home life balance, and it's really difficult having the kids at home and then trying to answer calls or go on showings because I don't really trust them with a lot of people just based on all the things that I've been through. So I would rather have them with me, which is why I got into real estate for the flexibility. I have my in-laws and they help a lot, but pretty much just trying to figure out that like middle ground, so I can actually accomplish one or the other. Because at this point, it's kind of like I'm just trying to do both at the same time, and then neither gets done.
And how is your family life? Are you single? Are you married?
So I've been in a relationship for 7 years. We're not married. We have 2 kids together. The first 2 are from my previous marriage. I did get married when I was 17, and that did not work out. And then when I got with the guy I'm with now, he just kind of took over the little ones, and then we ended up having a couple of our own. Our relationship has its issues, but we're working through them and trying to, get to like a good spot, I guess.
And do you have like kind of hobbies outside of being a mom and being, doing your real estate business?
I do. I like to paint. I have a garden. I probably have 50 plus houseplants, and I'm growing vegetables outside, and that brings me a lot of joy. I play video games also, so kind of a little bit of a different few things, I guess.
Okay, I'm jealous of the houseplants, I will say.
Oh, I love them. They're so fun. Like, I accidentally bought a plant one day. Not accidentally, but I picked up a plant at the store that I thought looked cool, and I was like, I don't even know if I can keep this alive. And that just like sparked an addiction for me, because now every time I go to the store, I have to bring home a plant. It's becoming a little... I like it though. I don't care.
I mean, it's a pretty like good thing to be addicted to.
Right. I don't know. Something about like working in the soil like brings me peace,
Yeah, totally.
Or like watching, I know it sounds so stupid or like nerdy, but I like to watch them grow. Like I'm like, I grew that.
For sure. I'm also a plant enthusiast, so.
Oh, really? Yeah, I love plants. I love them.
almost bought another one at Trader Joe's yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hold out.
I know. My boyfriend was like, Cricket, you don't have to buy a plant every time you leave. I'm like, I do though.
Yeah.
It could be something worse. So I grew up in Lampasas, which is about an hour north of Austin, and my family life was not good. I started out with my parents, obviously, and they were drug addicts, meth heads. I grew up watching my dad beat my mom. I grew up watching like all kinds of crazy things happen. A lot of the time we were left with like grandparents or mom's new boyfriend of the week. It was pretty chaotic. And then we actually got taken away when I was about 8 years old from CPS due to the drug use and everything. Got placed in a foster care for a year and then ended up back at my grandmother's house, which was my dad's mom. And honestly, things weren't a whole lot better there. And then, from that point, he got access to us again. So we were going to see him on the weekends, and I was not allowed to see my mother. And then right around, I guess, age 9. So I guess we probably got, that lines up. I guess I got taken away around like 9, and then I was back with my family, or 8, and then I was back with my family around 9. And then that's when the abuse started with my dad, like the sexual abuse. So it was pretty much full-blown chaos from the day I came out of the womb and never ever got any better, just got worse.
Yeah, what was it like before the age of 8? I mean, if you had parents that were, really struggling with addiction and, what were you kind of feeling like as a young child?
I have a hard time remembering like a lot of my childhood, just I guess that was a defense thing for me. But I have memories of, like, the memories I do have aren't the best. Like, I can remember being left with my mom's boyfriend for a week while she was doing I don't know what, and he barbed wired me into my room for a few days without food and water, like just stuff like that. So it was pretty much from a young age just really bad things happening over and over and over again. I do have some memories of my dad that were good, and it's hard for me to like figure out really what age, I guess, the drugs use got out of control. Obviously when I was 9, because that's when he started acting like a psychopath. But like I can remember Christmases where he got us really big gifts and we were all out and like riding around on the little 4-wheeler or whatever he got us, or he'd bring us the game system on the weekend, or he'd take us to Six Flags. Like I have those memories, but part of me feels like it was just like a front, It wasn't like he was a good person. It was like he was trying to project that he was a good person to people, if that makes sense. So.
Just fixing the focus really quick. And so when did the abuse start with him, and how, can you explain maybe the first time it happened or something like that?
So I was at the apartment. He had a, efficiency apartment. Didn't have any rooms, but like the way they had set it up, they had like curtains that made rooms. And so we had some girls over that day. I guess they were the neighbor kids. So I was hanging out with them, yada, yada, was playing outside, was dirty, and needed to take a shower. At this point, my dad was with who I considered my stepmom, Johnita was her name. And she was flying, I think, to Tennessee that night to go see her mom, because that's where her mom lived. And so she wasn't home. So it was probably around dinner time. I got into the shower to wash myself and get clean, and I had forgotten my towel. So I just opened the door and, hey Dad, can you bring me a towel? He's like, yeah, brings me a towel. And then like the interaction at the time didn't cause me any like distress. I didn't think anything of it. He opened the door, handed me the towel, and he saw me naked. But it was like, it was just a quick, like, he passed me the towel and that was it. And then I went on about the rest of my day. It wasn't until later that night when I was sleeping and my brothers were asleep, because I have 2 younger brothers. My brothers were asleep, that he came and got me, and he asked me to come to the bathroom with him. So I did. And he made me touch him, he touched me and touch him kind of thing. And then that was like the end of it that night, and I went back to bed. So it was I was really confused. I didn't know what the hell was happening, Wasn't sure if, like, I knew it wasn't right, but also I wasn't sure, like, why it was happening. I don't know. It was weird. But from that moment, it just kind of kept going. We only saw him on the weekends, so every time we would come over on the weekend, I'd be asleep. I have memories of, like, him, when everybody else is asleep, coming out to where I'm sleeping and like sticking his hands under the blankets and like messing with me while I was asleep. And I would just pretend that I was sleeping and I didn't know what was happening, because I didn't want to like acknowledge that I was aware, because I was afraid if I did, it might go further. And just kind of the older I got, the more comfortable he got with just like touching me or like making comments about me, like the way I was developing and all of that. I have memories of him taking me on night drives. Let's go for a night drive. Didn't want to, but what choice did I have? Take me down to the river one night where we used to go all the time as a family and go like tubing. So he took me down there and literally he's like, I have to pee. So he got out of the truck and then the next thing I know, he was over on my side of the door. And when he opened the door, he was trying to get me to have sex with him consensually. Like he was trying to get me to be okay with having sex with my so it didn't happen. You know what I mean? But that was a constant thing for him. Like he was constantly trying or asking, you know, like making it known how badly he wanted to have sex with me. That's pretty much the extent of that, I think. I mean, it's hard to remember a lot of it. A lot of it I blocked out. You know, there was a lot of other things going on at the time too, like seeing him beat the ever-living shit out of my stepmom and just apparently a lot of other things with my brothers I didn't even know were happening. It was a pretty traumatic experience.
Looking back at it now and like recounting that story, like, is it difficult for you emotionally now?
Honestly, I want to say no, but it's more that I'm like numb to it. My therapist described it. So I do depersonalization, where I detach myself from myself, if that makes sense. It's like I know the world is real, but I don't feel real. And she said that I did that as a defense mechanism. And so anytime anything bad has ever happened to me in my life, I just lock it in what I've always called my box, and it's gone. It's like it didn't happen. However, now that I'm an adult and I am like, I don't know what has triggered it necessarily. It's all flooding back. So I'm struggling with it more so now than I ever have in the past.
One thing is that there's like the wire, the like mic wire, and if
Cool.
you just like don't mind, like it's like I know it's in the way. Maybe I can move it.
Oh, it's okay. Did I mess it up?
No, it's not like you're messing up. It's just like sometimes like when your arm moves, it's like.
Oh, it's
making
like
a noise.
interfering?
Yeah.
Oh, I can just quit talking with my hands.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I do it when I'm nervous.
No, it's fine because I'm gonna be able to like express. You know what I mean? But,
Right.
like, just be cognizant of it. I'll tell you if it becomes.
Okay,
issue.
I'm just going to hold my hand here.
Okay.
Not even going to
If
do
that's
it.
comfortable, then that's good. Thanks. Sorry, I lost a little bit of track there, but
Oh, it's okay.
let me look just back at my notes quickly. Oh, okay. Did he ever acknowledge the abuse, or did you ever confront him about it?
So the only reason that my abuse even came to light was he started dating another woman named Karen, and she had kids, 2 daughters and an autistic son. Well, she actually had 3 daughters, but only 2 were with her and an autistic son. And it turns out that he was doing the same thing to the little girl. And so.
So I have one thing. Do you mind not using names?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
no worries.
I
Okay.
just want to make sure, like, we just.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
should I start that?
Yeah,
over?
if you don't mind. Just, you can say, like, he started dating someone new, and yeah. Just don't use
Okay. Right. So like the only reason that my abuse came to light was he started abusing his current girlfriend's youngest daughter. And she came to me and my boyfriend at the time and told us what was happening. And that for me was like a last straw. It was like I knew how much I could handle and I was almost out of there. Like I was fixing to be 17 and I was moving out with my boyfriend. I was leaving. I was never going to talk to him again. It was over. It was done. You know, for me, I was ready. But I couldn't live with myself if I left her behind just to keep going through what I had been through all these years. And so we took it to court. The Attorney General in Lampasas represented my case, and it was actually not just us 2. There were 2 other girls as well, so 4 total. And they were supposed to bring those girls in as backup for my story because my story was really hard, especially at the time. It was the way they defended it was, why would a father do that to his child? You know? And so I ended up actually having to face him alone, and they never brought the other girls in. And he was supposed to get 20 years for what he did to me, and he didn't get any time. And then later, they took him back to court for the other 3 girls, and he did get 12 years in prison, but he only served 6 and was recently released. Upon his release, I was terrified he was going to contact me or reach out to me, and for a while he didn't. And then his girlfriend that he married in prison, and this is the girl whose daughter was being abused by him. She abandoned her children, let them go to family, and then married him while he was in prison, reached out to me, and essentially, they're delusional. She goes along the lines of, we know that people coerce you into saying those things, and we know they aren't true. So your dad really misses you, and he wants to be a part of your life, and just, it was a long lot of message that I was just completely appalled by, and I messaged her back and basically told her to fuck off. I was like, no, that's not true. Actually, all of that did happen, and it also happened to your daughter, and basically you're the worst human being in the world. And I have blocked them since and haven't heard from them. But I was terrified for him to get out of prison. I was more scared that he was going to come after me than try to contact me, but I guess it went the other way than I expected. So I haven't the slightest clue what he is up to these days.
So you were saying that a lot of the kind of mental health struggles you've had have happened more recently, and I'm wondering, do you haven't you talked about stuffing it in a box and keeping it there, but I guess I'm just kind of curious, how is this all manifested in terms of your mental health?
So I guess I've always had anxiety, severe panic attacks, and depression. I've had that since I was a child. I was medicated for it for a really long time. Unfortunately, I became addicted to the medications that they were having me on, so I had to get off of them and kind of go through a treatment program. And since then, I was like, I'm just going to manage it on my own, which worked out fine until everything started bleeding through the cracks. About 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, which was a misdiagnosis. I just found out last month that it's not epilepsy. It was also the panic attacks, but they were so bad that they were mimicking seizures. And so I started seeing the psychiatry team and the therapy team, and it just came to light that I am in fact bipolar, which makes a lot more sense to me than epilepsy, because I never believed that I had epilepsy. From the very first day they told me, I was like, no, I would know. They're like, no, sometimes you don't. I'm like, I think I do. But then I finally convinced myself I did have it. 2 years later, just to find out I didn't, I was like, oh, I was right about that. But I guess I've been struggling with mental health this whole time. For a couple of years, I was in active addiction. After I left my first husband, who was also very abusive, I got into stripping. I got into that lifestyle. I didn't have any family to go turn to. I didn't have friends I was staying with a friend, but it wasn't someone who could take care of me or help me with my kids or anything like that. I was all by myself with 2 little ones and no way to pay for them. And so I went to the strip club. I had applied to every freaking job under the sun. No one was calling me back. I had about $20 left. My car payment was past due, and I was sleeping on the floor at my best friend's house, and my kids were on the couch. So it was kind of just one of those moments where I really didn't have any other options. And so I got into that. And of course, that environment is not healthy. Drugs are everywhere there. It's very easy to fall victim to that, and I did. Unfortunately, I was on pretty much, every drug you can think of, and I guess I was doing them as a way to hide the pain I was in. So I guess I was always experiencing it, but I just wasn't dealing with it. I was just, I don't know how I'm trying to say this, but I was just burying it. You know what I mean? So for all these years, I've just been burying it. I've just been not acknowledging that it exists. It's that didn't happen, using drugs, alcohol, whatever I could to cope, with all the feelings I was having instead of seeking actual help. And so now I'm to a point, I am 4 years clean, well, a little over 4 years, probably about 5, no, almost 6 years now. I got pregnant with my third child, and that's what halted everything for me. That was my like eye-opening moment where I was like, what the hell am I doing? I'm literally turning into my mother. I'm just going to repeat this same thing that's happened to me. Not the same thing, but you know what I mean? Like this same toxic family cycle, like I can't do that. So it was like, all right. And I never touched drugs from that day. I quit, had my baby, ended up going on having another baby, got my real estate license, you know, really turned my life around. But there for a while I was struggling. But I guess I've just been so busy and in the moment that I haven't ever had time to like stop and care for myself. So now I don't have a choice but to do that because it's like just like not giving me a choice. The box broke. I guess it was too full. I don't know. There's been a lot of other things that have happened that have caused, you know, a lot of the stuff. Like I was almost murdered. I think I told y'all that. I was almost murdered by my ex, actually a couple of times, but the last time was really bad. My brain was bleeding. I ended up actually having to get a device put in my head because he damaged the nerve so badly in my brain, or like in my skull, that they were sending constant pain signals, and the only way to stop it was to become a robot. So here I am. I forgot where I was going. I'm all nervous. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I can ask you another question.
Yeah, go for it. I'm just rambling now.
No, you're fine. It's all useful information. Let me see. I just want to look at my notes so I can stay on track. I don't remember if we went into exactly what you're getting help for now in terms of your mental health, or like, yeah, what's kind of happening in terms of your treatment or seeking help.
Yeah, so I just reached out for help. It wasn't until I went into the EMU to have my epilepsy monitoring done, because at that point they were thinking that I was having 4, 5, 6 seizures a day, because they were telling me that these episodes I was having were seizures. Well, they weren't. They were panic attacks. Like, I'm talking panic attacks to where I'm on the ground, my heart rate's up to 180. Like, they were catching it every time, and they're like, you're just having really bad panic attacks. I'm like, seriously? And so they brought a psychiatric team in, and that's where I was first told that I might have bipolar disorder and that I needed to seek help for it. And so I was like, all right, I guess it's time. So I started therapy 2 weeks ago. I just saw my therapist for the first time. We talked for like an hour, and she obviously agreed with their like diagnosis. She said, I do think there's some bipolar going on. I do think that you for sure have like severe panic attacks and anxiety and all of the things. PTSD, I have really bad PTSD, and I've been having a lot of intrusive thoughts, which was another one of the reasons why I sought help in the first place. Was I just keep having these thoughts and feelings and emotions, and like my temper is out of control, and all of these things aren't me. You know, I'm a really very calm, very like caring person. So one minute I'm just crying, and then the next minute I'm screaming at someone for no reason, and the next minute I'm sad, and the next minute I'm super happy and I feel like I can do anything. Like, so all of that together was like what really prompted me to like reach out. But I haven't seen the psychiatrist yet, so I am only currently medicated for generalized anxiety disorder and PTSD, but she informed me that that medication isn't going to work because I'm a severe trauma case, and we're going to need to do something stronger. But she's not able to do medications. I guess the psychiatrist has to do that. So I have an appointment upcoming with them, and we will see where it goes. But she did say that she thought that it's possible that my bipolar disorder was triggered from all of the epilepsy medication I was on and didn't need. So I guess it's still up in the air. We're just trying to figure it out.
Do you need some water or anything?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. Let me check the focus one time. Okay. All right. What do you feel like should be the punishment for abusers, you know, people who abuse kids sexually when they're young?
Death. I really do. I really think the death penalty should be imposed because there currently aren't, it seems, any consequences for people who do these kinds of things. I mean, my dad sexually molested and ruined the lives of 4 young girls, and he went to prison for a whole 6 years. And now he's back walking the streets and probably doing it again. You know, like, the reason, or to me, what I think the reason that this is so common is because they're not afraid. They are not worried about getting away with it, especially certain classes, you know, like rich white men, for example. They know they're going to get away with it. So it doesn't matter, you know. If there were higher consequences, I feel like people wouldn't do it as much because they'd be scared, but they're not scared, you know. No one should be able to take something away from someone or cause so much trauma to someone at such a young age and just walk away. It's not fair.
And do you mind, sorry, saying in like a complete sentence, like, I believe that like the death penalty is an appropriate punishment or something, just because like my voice won't be in it. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe the death penalty is an appropriate punishment for abusers of children, women, men, any kind of sexual assault, really.
Okay, thanks. Okay. And okay, you already answered that.
But I guess to add on to your question earlier, how it's affecting me now, badly, because I feel completely out of control. Like, part of me just wants to literally run away. You know, I have all these I'm gonna cry, I'm sorry. I have all these responsibilities, these kids, this job. I have to make the money, I have to do this, I have to do that. So I don't have time to deal with this, you know, but I don't have a choice but to deal with it. And it's just all becoming too much to the point where sometimes I feel like I'd be just better off if I just wasn't here anymore. And I know that isn't an option. You know, I have kids. I would never do something like that. I would never leave them that way. But that's how I feel, you know. Honestly, if I'm being honest, if I didn't have kids, I don't know that I would still be here. Because it's just, I've been through too much. And people are horrible. And it just seems like one thing after another, you know, never ending. So I just feel like there's no point, but I have a point. I have my kids, so they kind of keep me grounded. But it's a struggle right now for me. And it's a struggle that a lot of people don't understand. Like, unless you've been through something like that, and unless you've been through the traumatic events I've been through, you don't get how it affects someone the way it affects them. Or, like, you know, like my partner, he'll be like, well, why can't you get out of bed? Why can't you do anything today? Why didn't you do, you know, whatever? And it's like, because I just can't. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't know how to explain to people how I can have a simple task and that's the only thing I have to do that day and I can't bring myself to do it. You know, like stuff like that. So it's definitely affecting me negatively now. I just wish it would all go away because it's just too hard. It's becoming too much.
Yeah, thank you for being vulnerable. I know it's not easy to do. Why did you want to come and share your story today?
Honestly, one, because my therapist told me talking about it could help. So there's that aspect, but also I just feel like it's important for people who have been through these things to speak out about them so that other people who are struggling silently know that they're not alone and know that they're not the only person going through it, you know, or know that it's possible to get to another place, you know.
And what does it mean to you we touched a bit on that in your answer just before, but what does it mean to you to kind of be a good mother to your kids when you know struggled so much in your childhood and people treated you so wrongly? Like, you know, how is it to kind of be a mother now?
It's incredible. Like, it is. Now that I'm level-headed and I'm in the place where I need to be and I can be a good mom, it makes me so happy. Like, they have a nice house. I never had that. You know, they have nice clothes. I never had that. They play sports. I never had that. You know, I was scared every day. They're not. They're not scared of anything except the dark, you know? Like, I protect them, and it's my job, but it hurts me because I'm capable of doing it. I was capable of leaving behind my addictions and leaving behind my problems and putting my kids first, but it hurts because my mom wouldn't or my parents wouldn't. So, like, it's a good feeling, but it also hurts because I'm getting to see them experience life in the way that you're supposed to as a kid. And I'm so happy for them for that, but it just really, like even little simple things like playing with them sometimes is hard for me because I didn't get to do that as a kid, you know? I don't know how to sit there and play Barbies with my daughter for an hour and a half because I just like zone out. I just don't know how, you know? But it makes me really proud of myself that I was able to break that cycle because it was a family curse. My mother's mother was horrible to her. You know, it's been passed down for quite some time. So it's like, I'm proud of myself and I know it has to happen. And even though it's hard, like for me, I'm just going to tough it out and do it because then my kids won't have to, you know?
For sure. And is there anything that I missed that you still want to share or?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you think I covered everything a little bit?
I think so. You're the expert.
No, I'm not the expert on your story. Don't say that.
My story's never ending, unfortunately. I could talk all day, but we don't have time for that.
Ashley, did you have anything extra?
Yeah, what was it that was pushing you to keep continuing? I know you were having intrusive thoughts, but before you had kids, I guess what got you to that point of wanting to have kids and starting a family?
And you can look at the camera still.
So honestly, my desire to have children came from me never having my own family. So I thought, well, I'll just create my own. But I didn't actually plan on having children. I just kind of got pregnant. I graduated high school when I was 16. I did 2 years of high school in one. I was trying to get the heck out of Dodge. I'd applied at Texas A&M. I was going to go there for my prerequisites for med school. I wanted to be a brain surgeon. And then I met a boy, and I fell in love because I craved love because I never had it, and he gave it to me. So I gave him whatever he wanted, and I ended up pregnant at 17. We had the baby, we got married, everything was great. Had another baby. I planned that one, you know, let's have a second one so they can grow up and play together. And then he got on drugs and everything went downhill. And then I got on drugs and everything went downhill. And then I met my current partner, and at the time he was on drugs and everything went downhill. But luckily, we were able to get clean together. And here we are, just living it up.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, I think I covered everything unless you have anything more to add.
I can't think of anything.